He didn't make the 10 o'clock bus.
No,
It's embarrassing.
But he was there at 10:30 still in the main call.
I think I've seen you once before. So
race
I've seen the last two times.
so we're coming as early.
3, 7.
She's already away with the fairies.
I think I've been living around the distractions of being and obviously Libby's a bit younger, but she was very like she was the best thing ever, and I think both of them were feeding off each other and playing, and I think Karen, your instructor, mentioned to your wife afterwards that I think Chloe was a bit distracted and probably Olivia wanted to play with it, and then when she saw Chloe this week, she was all over her charging after her. She was like, she was like the older kid.
Alright, well, we'll have this. And I don't know how big. No, I didn't.
July. So where you going? Is it just a little resort?
Good evening, Trojans! Good evening! Hands up if anybody got wet today in the rain.
Yeah.
Okay, that's a good number. A lot of people stayed dry. We have a very packed agenda today. We've got 3 prepared speeches-ish, and there is a surprise element, and that's the reason I'm saying it's not completely 3 speeches. But broadly, we've got the full pack agenda today. If more people come in, you might see, the participation on the other roles as well. But for the core of the meeting, we've got everything prepared. And today is second last meeting of our club year, and fourth last. My apologies. And what you will witness in the next meeting is something that we really need to be aware of. We would like you to attend the next meeting for us to have the required quorum for the elections. But to give you more information about that, I'd like to call upon our President, David Horn.
Good evening. I'll just quickly step in and do the Sergeant at Arms stuff too, because we didn't have that. So we're not expecting any fire drills tonight, so if the fire alarm goes, it's out that door, out the main door and across the road. Toilets are through that door and across the hallway and down the back, and our network break will be down there. And can you please make sure your phones are either switched off or set on silent. Thank you. Right, so as Tanush says, coming up in 2 weeks' time, we've got the committee elections for next year. I'll be putting out an email on Easy Speak as well, encouraging people. So I'm hopeful that we'll get a good turnout that time, because I'll have to check what the quorum rules are to make sure that we can actually constitutionally elect a new committee, because otherwise it'll be a bit of a problem. But there we are. So there are all of the committee roles will be re-elected or new officers elected. Some people have indicated that they're happy to stand for existing roles. There may be some people that wish to put their names forward. If anyone here is interested in taking a role in the committee and you haven't spoken to me, come and have a chat with me. I'm here all evening. I'll be on the network break. I'm happy to talk with anyone afterwards if you're interested. Just one other piece of business. Does anyone work in the Victoria area, London, Victoria? No? Anyone kind of West End-ish? No? Okay, fine. Well, this will be over very quickly then. There's a new club that's chartering, and they've got their first meeting on Friday, and I was asked to find out if there was anybody who was going to be in the Victoria area on Friday at lunchtime, but since nobody is based there, unless you happen to be sort of vaguely wandering through London, Victoria on Friday at lunchtime, then we'll just move on to the regular order of business, and I'll hand back to our Toastmasters for the evening. Tanush?
All right, so I believe most of the Toastmasters know about it. about it already, and for the guests' benefit, I'd like to share it. So the way these meetings are run, obviously it's about speaking, coming up here, and talking about whatever topic you've been given or thought about. But one key component is feedback, and that feedback is given in written format, in verbal format. But the biggest feedback that you can give to anybody who's standing here is as participating as an audience. So whenever somebody comes here, if you could please give them a big round of applause, not only to cheer them up, but it's a culture thing within Toastmasters. So can we quickly practice how we would welcome anybody on stage? That's good, and maybe we can bring up the level of decibels in our claps later on. Now, any meeting is not complete without the core functionary roles that participate in the meeting. Aside from the Toastmaster role, which I am playing today, there are some supporting functionary roles that would be supporting this meeting throughout the course of this evening. And what I would like to do is I'd like to call upon those individuals to come here on stage and talk about that role briefly so that you understand how they are going to be contributing. So the first functionary role that is supporting today's meeting is of a timekeeper, and today's timekeeper is Carla. Please welcome on stage Carla.
Good evening Toastmasters, good evening fellow Toastmasters, good evening, most welcome. My role today is timekeeper. I'm doing this role for the second time because the first time I did I thought, oh, it's going to be very easy. Wow, was I shocked. Thank God David was there with me to support me, but it was not easy at all. I had to concentrate really hard, and I'm not very good at concentrating, so this is helping me with my concentration. Now, the actual role of the timekeeper is to keep track of everything that's on the schedule and to time it and to give feedback at various times of the night. The timekeeper uses a light which shows green, amber or red. If you look on the agenda, you'll see each speaker there are 3 times. The first time, that would be after that first time, the light will be on green, and it means that you're in a good place and just keep talking. Amber means try starting to wrap it up, start trying to conclude. And red means you probably have 30 seconds, am I correct, to finish your speech. So, good luck everyone with your speeches tonight.
Now, if we don't communicate in a way that other person understands, it's going to lead to a lot of confusion, and possibly it can go to anarchy. What we try to do here is obviously communicate in a language that everybody can understand. If I start to talk in my native language, this meeting will not go anywhere. But within the language that we are talking here, there are some so-called inspectors who help us keep a check on if the right language has been used or not. Now, like the real-life inspectors, they can be on different levels of the spectrum, how much inspection they do, but we still have such an inspector, and that role is called grammarian. And today's grammarian is Amit. I'd like to welcome Amit on stage.
Good evening, fellow Toastmasters, and today I'm keeping as a grammarian of this meeting. So I want to introduce the literary devices as part of the grammarian role today. So I just want to give a few seconds to explain what are literary devices and what device we are going to use. So literary devices are a form of written or oral communication that engages the audience, engages the reader or the presenter with the audience. So with the audience, it creates a kind of it gives a kind of platform to the speaker so that it can engage and can work with create a kind of visual presentation with the audience. So I want to introduce personification. So personification, there are hundreds of literary devices that we use in every day, and I know we all use every day. So personification is that device is the attribution of a personal nature or human characteristic to something non-human, like the leaves move waved in the wind, sky weaves, or the sun smiles. So these are the things that we are trying to engage with the reader as a visual presentation, with the audience as a visual presentation, so that the audience understands how we are making a connection of the human form with the non-human form. So we will try to check that the speakers that we are going to present today should use this literary device. But I'm sure the presentation, the speakers are definitely going to use some of them because we use them every day. But we will try to write them and see how good they are and how they are keeping them.
So when I first joined Toastmasters, I thought there would be a lot of learning and gradually turn into a lot of entertainment value as well. Of course, you can come in here, sit every meeting and understand or know about the different stories people are telling. But the example that Amit just gave, it's about reminding us about the different devices of the language as well. So you learn every time you attend as well. So make sure you keep your ears and eyes open about what new thing you're picking up, not just in terms of the content, but also the structure of the language. So with that, we can actually kick off the meeting's core content. And today we've got 3 prepared speech slots booked in, out of which 2 are kind of prepared speeches and 1 is not, and I'll talk about that in a moment. Our first speaker is me, Tanu Saluja. You can see it on the agenda. I am delivering my speech, and to evaluate my speech, I have Cam's support. So Cam, if you could please read out the objectives for my speech.
Okay, so Tanuja is doing Project 5, Your Body Speaks. The objectives for this speech are use stance, movement, gestures, facial expressions and eye contact to express your message and achieve your speech's purpose. Make your body language smooth and natural, and you have 5 to 7 minutes.
Thank you. So I have not seen this happen often, so I don't know how I'm supposed to kind of draw the curtains and start my speech, but here it starts, okay? Sorry, I need to mention something else. The title of the speech is Holy Cow. This is the Toastmaster talking, so. Stop! Don't do that! Holy cow. Fellow Toastmasters, this is how my brain remembers the flash cards of that event that I'm going to describe to you. Year 2002. Imagine me as a skinny, lanky guy. I know it's difficult, but imagine. I was going to my uni from my hometown after a week's break and sat in a bus. Now, this is in northern India, in dry lands of Haryana. I don't know if you know about this state. And the roads are literally endless. They are not like motorways that you see today. You can just keep going in one direction for days and you might not see villages or even people on those roads. And the way these roads are structured are, they are on an elevation, so these roads are slightly elevated, and around these roads it's just dry lands. And back in the day, the buses were in India were not as luxurious as you find them today if you happen to travel now. These are very rickety buses. Literally, if you pushed it with enough force, it will collapse structurally. And me being in my young adulthood days, I was slightly adventurous and I was actually seated on the pedestal from which you actually climb on. So I was not lucky enough to find a seat, so I was traveling in the pedestal, and this is where I was listening to the song, which I had to perform in the college festival next day, incidentally. And suddenly, the bus collided with something. We didn't know what happened. All it felt was like we were in the middle of a whirlwind, and all the baggages were falling, and people were shrieking and shouting. And by the time it was done, the adventurous Tanuj was sitting like this across the door and just about to fall off. That was a near-death experience for me. Fortunately, the bus skidded off the road and landed in a ditch, stable. Nobody got hurt. It was a very fortunate incident. And again, because I was so exploratory, I wanted to understand what was going on. I was the first one off the bus. I went around and tried to check what actually happened. The driver was not saying anything. He didn't find any other vehicle that it collided with. And on more inspection, we figured out that actually there was something that came on the path, which is why he had to swerve off the road and go into the ditch. Like it happens in such cases, people gathered around, the crowd gathered, they started to literally shout at the driver, why did he risk everyone's life? And some people were completely clueless about that this incident had happened. They actually went back to the highway and were about to hail or hitch their next ride because they needed to get to their destination quick enough. Again, I had all the time in the world. I wanted to understand what really played out, and I started to look for clues what really played out there. There was a 12-year-old boy stood on the other side of the highway, and he said, "Idhar aao," which means come here in Hindi. And we were like, maybe the bus has hit somebody, maybe somebody died. But there was no blood on the front of the bus, so definitely it was not a person who was hit. We all walked towards the other side of the highway, and what we saw there was a very, very large cow hit, and it was bruised, and it sat, kind of groaning about getting hit by the bus. Obviously, we couldn't do much about it. We were kind of helpless. We knew that this kind of incident can happen in India. It's a typical stereotype, cows coming on the road, etc. And soon enough, people's attention went back to figuring out how they want to resume their journey. So they went back to the highway and started to hitch the ride. But something inside me prodded me that this cannot be possible. How can we treat one animal's life as if it doesn't matter? And I started to shout, "Come on, you can't do that. Let's try to save that cow." And nobody paid attention. I thought I need to apply some kind of strategy. I went to the families who were traveling together. I knew if I spoke to the father figure in that family, he may buckle in the pressure by the kids that are standing next to him. Slowly, out of 60 passengers, I convinced 5 people to come and help the cow and try to do something about it. Gradually, people started to get interested that something is happening there, and we decided that we are going to support this cow. Either we are going to take it to a vet, or we are going to ensure that if it can't recover, it is put to death in a nice manner there. But again, this was just 5 or 6 people. How can we help such a matter? And we have no experience. There are no vet doctors amongst us. And I was just a student who was, trying to do something there. Fortunately, one person said that looks like this cow might have just, lost its path and might have come from the nearby village. And somebody suggested that maybe we can go to the village and figure out who's the owner of this cow. And things started to pace up, and soon enough we decided that we are going to recover this cow and actually take it to the vet in the nearby village. But what amazed me about this experience, as horrific it could have been for me and it turned out to be horrific for that cow, was that if I had not voiced that, I'm not saying it was me, but somebody should have voiced it to support that cow. By the time the vet came in, he actually declared that that cow was drowsy because she was pregnant. And in front of our eyes, he carved that cow. So the calf was born in front of our eyes. And my reaction to it all was, holy cow. Thank you. Since I am the Toastmaster, so I would like to request 1 minute time on the clock. Fella, could you please give us 1 minute's time so that people can capture their feedback? Yeah. So we have a bit of a logistics situation today. Our feedback have been shipped from the Toastmaster International headquarters, but they've not arrived yet. So could you please use any piece of paper that you have with you and capture your feedback about the speech? Alright, so here comes the surprise element for tonight. I told you there are 3 speeches-ish today. We tend to run with at least 2 speeches in any meeting for guests' awareness. We can have up to 4 or 5 speeches in an evening, but today we have got 3 speeches. But the second speech we're going to have is a bit of a surprise, or rather I should say, it's not the pattern that we follow every time, but it also tells you that we can be flexible with our agenda, we can try new things. It's not a very structured, monolithic organization that's trying to run an agenda, so in case you think we run in a very corporate manner, we don't. So today's second speech is a table topic speech. What I mean by that is, table topics will obviously be run in the second half of the meeting after the network break, but Dave has stepped up to take the slot and deliver an impromptu speech. And for that, our table topics master, Tim, would be giving him a topic that is completely unknown to Dave. And he's going to deliver a speech for 5 to 7 minutes. With regards to his, I think you are doing the evaluation as well, Tim.
I am as well.
Yes, so it just happens to be that Tim is also doing Dave's evaluation. So if you have anything to call out for his objectives, please feel free to share that.
Okay, I don't. But do you want me to give the title of the speech?
Well, let's first call Dave on the stage and then we can hand that topic to him. Please welcome Dave.
Okay, Dave, I decided to be rather mean because I am. And I was going to ask you to talk about something relevant to today, like climate change or the political situation, something you could just wobble on about without too many problems. But I'm not going to do that. So I know I'm going on a bit, but I just want to put this in a bit of context because I think it's important we know who we're dealing with. And David has won pretty much everything in here and turned up here and is a very cool customer and he's a very capable speaker. So I'm going to try and unseat him and prove that he isn't human, that he is actually human after all. So the title of this speech, and I'm going to repeat it, Dave, in true Toastmasters fashion. There's 2 parts to this. So I'm only human after all, and the strapline, if there is one, is the moment you realised you came to the end of your own wisdom. So I'm going to repeat that. Okay? I'm only human after all, and describe to me a moment when you realised that you had come to the end of your own wisdom and understanding. You can just go with I'm only human after all. No. You have 5 minutes.
Very right now.
I'm only human, after all. And the time that I came to the end of my wisdom was also the time that I actually discovered my wisdom. Some of you have heard variations on this story. Some of you have heard me speak about it. It did feature in my speech at the international speech contest that we held here. Which, by the way, the lady who won, Sonia, the one who beat me, she just won the District 91 speech contest, so well done her. And this is a table topic, so I'm allowed to throw in those kind of random things. So let's have a round of applause for Sonia. Friday the 13th of July, 2012. I had just started working for a new client. In fact, that was going to be my first day at a new client. And I woke up in the morning full of vim and vinegar. I was going to say something ruder than that, but we'll go with vim and vinegar. And there was a message on my phone from my sister, who lives in Vancouver, on the west coast of Canada. David, Dad's had an accident. Call me as soon as you get this. It was about 6 o'clock in the morning, 10 o'clock in the evening now. So I phoned my sister, and our dad had had an accident. He'd fallen down a flight of stairs and broken his neck. He was still alive, but on machines. 2.5 hours later, I was on a flight back to Canada, and that evening I met my family. My sister, both of my sisters came and collected me from the airport, took us to the hospital. There was no brainstem activity. He was alive on the machines. And we decided, let's just see what happens overnight. But it was pretty clear to me. My mom was like, let's just see what happens overnight, because she wasn't ready. The rest of us kind of knew it was the end. And I've never faced anything like that before. And I remember sitting in the ICU, and thankfully my family knew that it was, they'd already had their time. And I came in and sat in the ICU and held my dad's hand and talked to him. Thanked him. Told him he'd better get out of this because it wasn't a really good situation, and trying to just get a little bit of humor to lighten the subject. But I came to a point where I didn't have anything more to say. And for those of you who know me, I usually have something to say. But I came to a point, I just didn't know what to say. Here's my dad lying here with machines keeping him breathing. But I knew that it wasn't him. And so we said goodnight, and the hospital closed. Well, the hospital carried on, but we went back to the hotel where we were all staying. And then we met again as a family in the morning, and the doctors had come in, and again overnight they'd done 2 tests, and so for 3 separate tests over the period of 24 hours there had been no brainstem activity. And so we sat down with our mum, and I'm the youngest of 4, so the other 3 and I sat down with mum and just said, look, this is the end. And she accepted that. It was tough. And so we spoke to the doctors. We came in to the hospital and we sat down with the doctors and said, okay, we're ready to say our last goodbye. And they unplugged the machines, and has anyone in here seen a human being die? It's a horrible thing, but it's also an incredibly enlightening and in a weird kind of way, uplifting kind of thing. So his chest collapsed and the colour drained out of his flesh. He went from a normal, everyday colour to just kind of grey. And his chest just collapsed into the bed. And I've never been religious, but I found my wisdom in a very spiritual way in the instant that my father died. Because I looked at him and I realized that he wasn't in his body anymore. And that was 6.5 years ago. And I still connect with my dad all the time. I just know he's there. I don't physically speak to him, but I communicate with him. My dad was cremated. We brought some of his ashes just in a little urn back. We scattered them at a particular spot in Kew Gardens that our family loves. And we go, my wife and I are members in Kew Gardens. We go for a walk in Kew Gardens every weekend. And we often go by and just say hi to my dad and check in with him. And I don't need to say anything. You don't need words for this. But there was a wisdom that was created for me on that day. And it wasn't that it was created, it was a moral wisdom that was discovered by me on that day. Because it's probably a wisdom that was already there, that was always there, but I wasn't aware of it. And in the instant that my father died, I both lost my wisdom and I found it. Mr. Topics Master.
Thank you.
Thank you, David. Ms. Timekeeper, could you please give us a minute on the clock to write feedback for David? In case you're wondering what I'm checking on the phone now, checking any math score and reads the agenda for tonight, which is allowed in case you're keen to use it. We're trying to, at least I'm personally trying to go paperless as much as possible. We print agendas every evening, every meeting, and they go into the bin. So I would persuade you to see if you can, if you're not on the WhatsApp group, please get added. One, I try to share the agenda on the WhatsApp group so you can have a quick glimpse about what's going to happen in any meeting. And if you've not checked the agenda before the meeting, that means you're lacking on checking Easy Speak. So please go to Easy Speak at least 1 week before the meeting, I would say. So while we are, okay, we're good. All right, so let's move on to our third speech for the evening. This speech is being delivered by Irina, and she is doing her Pathways speech. Now, I'd like to make a quick introduction about Pathways. So, Pathways is a term that you would see, you would hear a lot in Toastmasters. So that's a new education program that has been introduced last year. And some of us are in the old program, some of us are transitioning onto the new program. And some people who joined us in the last 1 year's time have started their Pathways path. So Irina is delivering her speech number 3 today. 2. 3. 3. Okay, 2 or 3. She's progressing very well on her pathways, and today's speech would be evaluated by. Sorry, it's speech number 5. She completed one pathway.
I'll just interrupt you. Irina is now leading the club. She is the first person in the club to do a level 2 pathways speech. So quick round of applause for Irina. So about today's speech, it will be evaluated by Rina Silva. Rina, could you please share Irina's objectives for tonight?
So Irina's speech is entitled A Leader or a Follower. It is part of the Persuasive Influence strand, and it's about understanding the leadership style. So we're going to be looking out for Irina to identify her leadership style and discuss some aspects of this chosen style.
Thank you. So please welcome on stage with a great applause, Irina.
Such an emotional speech that I already forgot what I'm going to say. How do you go from
share my story tonight of how I chose to become a leader. I was 10 years old, and my best friend was the most amazing person. She was smart, she was beautiful, she was kind, she was everything that a girl wanted to be at that age. So we used to do everything together. We went to the bathroom together, we waiting each other in the morning to walk to school, we watched movies together. So at that age, I was just seeing her something amazing, something that I want to become. So I was following her everywhere. And at that time, there was a popular soap opera in the country called Wild Angel. My mom at the time, we didn't do very well financially, so she didn't pay for extra channels on TV. So I didn't know about this movie. I didn't know that it existed. And my friend told me, we have to see this one. It's the most incredible movie that you can see, or soap opera, whatever. And every day, at the same time, we were at her home watching it. And who knows Natalia Oreiro? I'll show you a picture. Sorry, I only have it on my phone. So that's the main actress that she played the main role in that movie. So my friend was obsessed with her. And this picture is representing the movie, basically. You can see the red hat. And she also had on her left side, just below the nose, a black mole spot. So what we've done with my friend, we had exactly the same hat, and after we watched the movie, we get in our hats, we had a black marker, we used to draw ourselves like a little spot here, just like her, and we went outside. We all pretending we are that person. And what I didn't understand at that time was that I was a follower. I didn't know that person. I didn't know what she's doing. I only saw her for the first time in that main role she was playing. My friend, in fact, she was a great leader. She made me like her, like the main actress from that movie. So I was copying her in everything she was doing, without noticing. Because I wanted to become like her. So why not? After years, I went on a summer camp. I won a prize. I wrote a history paper, and I sort of win the first place. So I went there with my teacher. And it was that time when you have to decide, what do you want to do with your life? Do you want to go to university? Do you want to go to work? It was after graduating high school. So I didn't know what to do. I knew I want to go to uni. What I'm going to study, I don't know. So I had this discussion with my teacher during that summer camp. And I told her, I want to study environmental engineering. She looked at me and said, you are the most soft person I ever know. Do you know what you need? You need an office, and you need people to tell you what to do. You're going to be very good at it. And I was like, wow. It's like a wave hit me. And I was like, I don't want to be that person. I want to change the world. I want to make the world a better person, a better place to live. And I want people to challenge people. I want people to create communities that they like, they enjoy, and create something nice. And at that stage, I decided to invest in myself. I went to workshops, I started volunteering in organizations, I took leadership position, and I've started to build myself that confidence, that open mind setup that a leader has. And the most important thing what I've started to have is a vision. Because that's what I didn't understand at that time when I was following my best friend, was that she had a vision. She wanted to be the same famous actress that she liked. So I've created myself a vision. I want to be that person who creates communities, who creates a better world, who creates something that is going to stay for a long time and is going to create the world a better place to live in. And I'm talking about environmental changes, because you know this topic is quite important at this stage of our lives. So that was my vision, and that's the reason what I'm doing today. I'm not saying I'm a great leader, I'm still learning. So some of you might say leaders are born, some of you might say leaders are made. It's your belief. You are what you believe. Thank you.
Thank you, Irina. That was a fabulous speech. Could we get a minute on the clock to provide feedback to Irina? So I made a mistake. I forgot to introduce one of the key functionary roles we have got today, and actually that role is very, very unique to our club. It didn't turn up on my concise agenda, so that's my mistake. Could you please welcome on stage Paula to describe her role. She's playing a role of a harp master. It's a role that's very unique to our club. If you go to other clubs, if they've got it, maybe you know where the inspiration came from. So please welcome on stage Paula, and she described her role for what she has been doing since the beginning of the meeting, and she'll be doing for the rest of the meeting.
Thank you, Tanuj. Welcome everyone, fellow Toastmasters. Hark the herald angels sing. Whetted your appetite? I got you listening. Don't worry, I'm not about to break out in song or dance. But a lot of colleagues already have said this evening that the purpose of being here, it is about our development, it is about development of others, it is also about listening. And actually catching ourselves unawares and just picking up on those golden nuggets that we learn from each other. And we've had some great speeches this evening, so my role tonight is actually to test you and how well you've been listening and how well you're going to listen throughout the course of the evening. And don't worry, you will be rewarded, not with money, sadly, but with sweets. So listen, enjoy, and I'll be testing you later. Thank you.
Thank you. So, with regards to the first section of the meeting, which is about prepared speeches and impromptu the next set of participants that will come on stage would be providing a detailed evaluation of each of those speeches. This is the structured way of providing feedback to each individual so that they know what they did well or where can be improved. And it also establishes the evaluator to understand the content and actually provide feedback on the fly, because you are actually capturing all that information in the moment and providing your analysis on it. So if anybody wants to, sorry, I'll come to that. So let me just quickly finish what I was saying. So if you want to rev up your brains in the next meeting and actually want to take up a challenge, try the evaluator's role. It's one of the best roles if you want to process the content or the imagery that you're seeing or the sounds that you're hearing here, because it allows you to put together what you should be looking into in a perfect speech, at least working towards a perfect speech. Now, another component that I slipped on is to provide times for the speeches that we've had so far. So please welcome on stage Carla to provide the speeches, times for the 3 speeches we've had so far.
Okay, 3 really great speeches. So we had, sorry, I don't have my glasses. Tanuj, holy cow, that was 7 minutes and 55 seconds. We had David with an impromptu speech. I am only human and I forgot the rest of it. It's 6 minutes and 24 seconds. And Irina, be it a leader or follower, 6 minutes and 56 seconds. So well done, everyone.
So let's dive into the evaluation zone. Our first evaluator for tonight for the speech I delivered is Cam Baines. Please welcome on stage Cam Baines.
Good evening, Toastmasters. So I'm evaluating Tanuj's speech, Holy Cow. So what stood out for me for that speech? 3 things. Tanuj's beginning. He went over and he sat down, and we knew he painted a scene. He had his earphones on. We assumed he's on a tube or a bus. We come to know he's on a bus. And I really liked that beginning because he was silent, or at least the first 8 seconds. And he got up and he went, "Stop!" So this speech was all about using body language. So he was able to use that within the first minute of the speech. The second thing I really liked was the topic selection, because he chose a topic which allowed for him to use body language. It was about a near-death experience. So if you can't use body language if you're having a near-death experience, I think you've got a problem. So he had thought about it, he had prepared, and he painted a scene. He took us back to India, his village, him as a student sitting on the bus, going through this experience. The third thing was suspense. There was a clear sequence of events, and it was almost like he was the detective taking us through this journey of what had happened. There was an accident. He told us what the cause of the accident was. It was a cow, and then that was his surprise discovery. So, in terms of objectives, the body language that he was, this was called The Body Speaks. His stance, I felt, generally was confident. He was confident using the stage. He moved on the stage. He went from here to there when he was talking about the cow. Which brings me to my first recommendation. Even though Tanuj used the stage, I did feel like he was situated mainly on this side of the stage, which alienated the audience on this side. Maybe as a recommendation, if he could move the lectern over, and he could have actually started here in the middle, strong, on the bus, and then moved across if he needed to, and then come back to centre. Gestures, I like the way there was contrast, because I've seen Tanuja's speeches before, many of his speeches before this one, and there was definitely him stepping up and using contrast in terms of vocal variety. When he said stop, he said come here in Hindi, and to get across that fear and emotion he was going through. But I would like to pick up on another recommendation, is that this was a near-death experience. So what could have Tanuja done to bring it more to life? And I feel like he could use his facial expressions more to work with his hand gestures and his body language, which would just bring it more to life. He did ask me to look out for ums. I did count 5. I didn't really see them as a problem, but another recommendation would be just to always look up. I found sometimes you look down, scan the audience, keep your head held up high. So Tanuja definitely stepped up. I would recommend, if he did the speech again, take into account the recommendations and good use of the stage. So well done, Tanuja.
Thank you, Cam. The next evaluation, the impromptu speeches evaluation, will be done by Tim. So please welcome on stage Tim Butler for the speech delivered by Dave. Tim.
The title of the speech, I'm only human after all. I felt somewhat mean doing that. I did kind of want, I'd heard bits of his speech before, and I kind of knew it was coming. But it was, this time it just added, there was a lot of emotion in this speech. And you kind of given that subject before, but I actually felt it was much more poignant this time. I think you really put your, maybe it's because you're under pressure, I'm not sure, but because obviously you're having to think on your feet. But it brought the best out of you. David is somewhat irritating in the fact that he always delivers. There's a huge amount of jealousies, but I'll stop warbling on. Great thing about David, took his time, didn't just go straight in. You know, I'm going to think about what I'm going to do, I'm going to think about how to deliver it, which I think is exactly the right way to go. And then he presented us with a date. He asked a question as well, got some audience participation. So you've got the date, you've got the scene setting, you've got everything. And David's very good at that, just able to put you into a situation with some strong, poignant phrases that immediately you're captured. So he started out with a scene setting, he used the stage really well. The other thing is the question was quite mean in the fact that I was trying to catch him out, and I was trying to understand a bit more about it. But I think the phrase when he said, "I discovered my wisdom when my wisdom had come to an end," which is a bit of a weird thing to say, but I could actually see what he was talking about, and there are pearls of wisdom in that statement. Story was about the death of his father. He used some very colourful phrases, and I think it's important that whenever we do these speeches, that we try to bring out some key moments. I knew it wasn't him. He just used the expression, "This is the end." I mean, that's a sort of gut-wrenching sort of phrase. And he's very good at using these kind of devices to get you in. Descriptive. The way he describes things. His chest collapsed. The colour went out of him. Suddenly, you're just right in the middle of this hospital with nothing else. And then he talked about the subject which I said, he said, "I found my wisdom in a spiritual way." it was created, at this moment it was when my wisdom was created, and I discovered that. The wisdom, I lost that day and I found it. These are very strong phrases. So I'm going to come into land here. The only thing I might recommend with David was I wanted him to sort of bring us back a little bit about what his interpretation of what wisdom was, so that he upended it, but he also described how he discovered that wisdom, talking about going to the park and talking to his dad every day. These are the bits that essentially outline what I was trying to get David to talk about. There aren't many other recommendations, but I think there's no objectives on this speech either. So it's quite an interesting sort of way of doing things. But congratulations, David. It was great. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Jim. All right. So the third evaluation for tonight would be done by Reena for Irina's speech. Please welcome on stage Reena Da Silva.
So Irina took us on a journey about how she discovered her leadership style. It was a really personal story about her and her friend. I thought she used the space well and her hand gestures purposefully. Irina had good audience interaction. However, I wasn't quite able to hear the question that she asked the audience. So I think as a recommendation, if you're going to ask a question, just ensure that the audience can hear the question. But there was really good interaction with the audience. Irina identified early on in her story that she thought she was a follower, and then took us on the journey about how she changed this perspective. She was really able to use the word obsessed and really emphasise this, which I kind of understood. Okay, so at that time in her life there was an obsession, and she's identified this and tried to change it as she's grown older. When Irina spoke about winning her first place in the summer camp, I was really excited about it because I thought it was a really exciting thing to do. However, Irina's facial expressions didn't quite show this, so as a recommendation I would say that if there's something exciting, make sure the audience know that it's exciting so they can also relate to that with you. However, I did see Irina's enthusiasm and excitement when she spoke about wanting to change the world. I felt like I and everyone in the audience probably related to that on their journey to Toastmasters and why they might have come here. So yeah, I think it was a really relatable story and really memorable. I think Irina did a really good summary at the end and explained her journey of how she was a follower and now she is a leader, or wants to be a real great leader to change the world. I thought Irina ended on a really powerful statement at the end. You are what you believe. So thank you, Irina, for a really powerful speech.
Thank you, Reena. So one other nugget of information about how we operate in Toastmasters. So what you just witnessed, I wanted to ensure that we shake hands with Reena. She's new to the club, so it's a given that there are certain things you need to follow. The motive is to not leave the stage pardon my phrasing, unmanned. There should be somebody who has to be here at all the times, and the way you kind of pass the baton is by shaking hands, and it's just a cultural thing for new guests or new members. Alright, so that's a major milestone for the evening. We've covered 3 speeches and 3 evaluations. What we venture into now is completely uncharted territory because Tim is going to be the table topics master for us. But that will happen after the network break. I say that uncharted because you've got a sample of what kind of topics you're going to be getting. But before we break for network, we would like to know the new faces that are here. So if I could please request any non-members to stand up and introduce themselves and share what brought them to Toastmasters and how they think Toastmasters can help them. Can we start anywhere?
Okay, good evening. So I'm Alan. This is my 3rd week. I've brought my form tonight. I figured there's only so many times I can stand up here without paying. So I'm in, and I'm here because I see this is an important personal development journey that I need to go on. I do it at work. I want to do it better in my work. Thank you.
Hi guys, I'm Dashel. I thought of how can I improve myself in different ways, try something different, and I thought something that we all sometimes have to end up doing is end up speaking to large crowds, whether it's a wedding or whether it's unfortunately a funeral or whether it's a whole bunch of friends. I thought what better way to improve myself than joining Toastmasters. So it's my first session. I don't think you've ever seen me before, so clearly it's my first. And I thought I'd learn how to judge a speech, how to speak to everyone as well. And so I'm here.
My name's Marion, and I absolutely hate public speaking, so I thought I'd just jump in the deep end and see what happens.
I believe we have a guest from a sister club. Is that right?
Is that
Have you signed up?
No, I belong to this club. I just haven't been for about a year.
Oh, okay. Okay, I'm in for that. So now we would go to the kitchen area, enjoy some drinks, but key thing to note is that Tim, though he is going to be the table topics master, he's got some ideas that he wants to unleash on you, but you have to sign up for those table topics if you want to speak, otherwise he's going to pick on you on this. So I would rather face the wrath of Tim head on and know that I am signed up for that. So I would urge all members and all guests to try your hand at it, because this is the best way to kind of overcome any fear of public speaking if you're new to Toastmasters. So definitely a must do for guests, but optional for members, of course. So with that, let's take a break. I'd say let's huddle back. Yeah, let's come back at 8:45 and enjoy some hot drinks and cookies.
Evaluating.
Thank you so much, Cameron. Fabulous evaluation.